So, you've been living in the Netherlands for a while and you're starting to think about the long term. You've probably realized you're coming up to a pretty major decision point. It's a choice between two really powerful options, getting EU residence or going all in for full Dutch citizenship. Today, we're going to break down exactly what that choice means for you and your family.
I mean, think about it. You spent years on a Canada's migrant visa. You've built a home here, a career, a whole life, really. But that naturally leads to the big question. What's the next chapter? How do you lock in that future and make it permanent?
You're basically standing at a crossroads. There are two very distinct paths you can take to secure your status here. On one side, you've got EU long-term residence, and on the other, full-blown Dutch citizenship. Both of them offer security, for sure, but they get you there in very different ways.
Now, before we start comparing those two doors, you need to know about the key. And here's the thing. You only need one key to open either of them. That key is the inburgering, the civic integration exam. It's basically a test on your Dutch language skills and your knowledge of Dutch society. And it's absolutely mandatory, no matter which path you end up choosing.
Okay, so you've got the key. Now let's look at what each of these doors actually unlocks. First up, let's talk about freedom. Because this is really a choice between a global key that opens everything and a really good European pass.
And right away, the difference in travel freedom is, well, it's huge. A Dutch passport gets you visa-free access to over 190 countries. We're talking places like the UK and the USA with minimal fuss. But with EU residence, you're still traveling on your original passport, so in this example, an Indonesian one, which means all those old visa rules still apply.
What about your career? Well, here, both options are actually fantastic. They both give you incredible freedom to work all across the European Union. But there is one critical little detail. Citizenship unlocks every single job, and that includes top-level positions at EU agencies. The residence permit, while amazing, has a ceiling right there.
In this quote right here, from the EU agency Eurojust, really hits the nail on the head. They flat out require applicants to have the full rights as a citizen. So what does that really mean? It's simple. If your dream is to work at one of these major EU institutions, then citizenship isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a must-have.
But all these freedoms are just one side of the coin. Now we have to talk about the costs. And I'm not just talking about what comes out of your bank account. We need to talk about the emotional price too.
Financially, the difference is pretty stark. Let's say you're a family of three. The total cost for EU residence is going to be around 1,500 euros. For citizenship, that number more than doubles to about 3,500. So right off the bat, choosing the residence path saves you about 2,000 euros.
But wait, for people from certain countries, there's a hidden cost that is way bigger. Let's take that Indonesian citizen example again. If you renounce your Indonesian passport, you need a special visa just to live or work back in the country you were born in. And that visa, the diaspora visa, requires a minimum investment of, get this, 35,000 US dollars. That's a jaw-dropping number that can completely change the whole financial picture.
And that brings us from the numbers to the feelings. Because beyond all the euros and dollars, what's the personal, emotional price you pay for giving up one passport to get another?
This, for many people, is the real heart of the decision. With EU residence, you keep your original citizenship, your legal ties to home, your identity, it all stays intact. But with Dutch citizenship, if your home country is like Indonesia and doesn't allow for dual nationality, you have to formally renounce your citizenship. You legally become a foreigner in your own birthplace.
Okay, so we've laid out all the freedoms, the costs, the emotions. It's a lot. So how do you actually make the right choice for you? Let's build a simple, clear framework to help you figure it out.
First thing to consider, time. How fast do you need this done? The EU residence path is way faster. We're talking about 3 to 6 months. The full citizenship journey, though, from the application to the ceremony to then sorting out that visa for your home country, that can easily take over a year, sometimes even longer.
So here's your game plan. 4 simple steps. First, and this is the most important, sit down and have a real talk with your family about what you all truly want. Second, double-check your exam status. Third, do the math. Calculate the real costs for your specific situation. And fourth, do your homework on things like that diaspora visa.
So let's boil it all down. You should probably lean towards EU long-term residence if keeping your original citizenship is an absolute must-have for you, or if saving a couple of thousand euros is a big deal. And, it also gives you the flexibility to maybe go for citizenship later on down the road.
On the other hand, you should probably choose Dutch citizenship if that ultimate travel freedom is your #1 priority, or if that specific career at an EU agency is your dream job. And of course, if you're prepared, both emotionally and financially, for what renouncing your original citizenship really entails.
And no matter which path you end up taking, I want to leave you with some really fantastic news, especially for parents. When it comes to your kids' futures, both of these options are a huge win. Either choice is going to unlock access to affordable European universities, student financing, and a whole continent of opportunities for them.
So in the end, it really comes down to this. You have one key, that integration exam, and it opens two very different doors to your future. The only question left is, which door holds the right mix of freedom, cost, and identity for your family?